Salutations, crustaceans. I'm Lobster, and today we are going to be reviewing the Harley Benton MB5-SBK, the flat black model. Let's do this. This is the Harley Benton MB5-SBK. Now, we have already reviewed the MB4 in the Sunburst with the maple fingerboard, and I found that bass to be absolutely exceptional for $120. It had a USA Stingray neck profile, it sounded the part, and though the volume controls were pretty much useless because who needs volume controls for the individual pulls, it was an awesome mod platform, especially if you wanted to keep things passive. I would say that a solid series parallel switch would definitely make this bass wake up quite a bit. However, in its stock form, it is definitely not a bad bass, at least the 4-string wasn't. However, out of the box, this particular example was a different story. Though the electronics were fine, the finish itself was just extremely prone to scuffs. It's a flat black finish, and if you look at it the wrong way, you're just going to get a little light marker indentation on it. Not so much an indentation, but just a little streak that you really can't do anything about. So yes, this finish is not as robust as the Sunburst with the gloss, and that's kind of a bummer. One other thing to point out is the fretwork on this particular example was absolutely atrocious. I'm not sure if this was just a QC fluke, but the other Harley Bentons that I've checked out thus far have all had much better fretwork. No real major pokey fret ends, and everything else had been pretty good overall. With this one, however, the fret ends were razor sharp. Take a look at this picture. Yeah. So I had to spend some time with my fret files to get this to where it was playable. But after filing down the frets, throwing on a set of Stay in Tune nickel-plated stainless steel foundation strings, 45 to 105, and giving this thing a quick setup, I found this to be not a bad bass overall. Let's go over the specs of the Harley Benton MB5. For the body, we have a basswood body finished in a flat black, as I had mentioned. We have a torque pickguard and a hum-canceling Music Man style pickup wired in parallel, with each set of coils having its own independent volume control and a master tone control. This is a completely passive instrument. For the hardware, we have essentially the same style bridge that you get in the SUB from Sterling by Music Man. However, this one is black, and I think it looks pretty nice. Moving up to the neck, we have a maple neck with a roseacre fingerboard. I have no idea what that is, but it seems to do the trick quite nicely. And that is a 21 fret 34-inch scale fingerboard with a nut width of 45 millimeters. We have a D-shaped neck, and overall I find it pretty comfortable. Now, one thing that is a bit of a gripe in regards to playability for me personally is the string spacing, as it is 16.5 millimeter string spacing. It's very tight. This is basically the same that you get in the Sterling by Music Man SUB 5-string. Moving up to the Ray 24 or Ray 34 nets you the 17.5 millimeter spacing found in the USA Stingrays, but this is just like the SUBs and is much tighter. You also notice that the pull pieces on the pickup are a bit tighter versus something like you'd see on a Ray 24, Ray 34, or a USA Stingray. That's to accommodate for the spacing. Now, let's turn this bass around real quick. Around back, we see a whole lot of nothing. This is a passive instrument, so we just see the matte black finish, the 6-bolt neck attachment, and there is no neck plate. So the screws are individually placed in there, but there looks to be some sort of ferrule to protect the wood and for stability. So pretty nice overall. We can also see the back of the neck, which is finished. And then up at the headstock, we have the Harley Benton tuners. These are very cheap tuners. They do the job okay, but they're not great. Now, how much does the Harley Benton MB5-SBK weigh? This particular example comes in at 9 pounds on the dot, which is not too shabby for a 5-string. It is a bit neck heavy because of the 5 heavy tuners that are sitting at the headstock, but it's not overly neck heavy, and it's honestly pretty well balanced overall, especially when you consider the price. And the price is $130 or so. I think it's $133 currently on Thomann, plus shipping. Now, I highly recommend if you're purchasing a bass from Thomann to purchase multiple instruments, because that really spreads out the shipping cost. I recently did a Harley Benton holiday haul, and I paid about $120 in shipping for 3 instruments, which is not too bad considering that that's international shipping. But anyways, this particular bass, brand new from Thomann, is around $133 plus shipping and taxes. Not a bad value overall considering what you're getting. And honestly, I found the passive Harley Benton instruments to be the highest of quality ones, where the active ones tend to spread themselves a little bit too thin. In my experience, at least. Now I know you're all wondering, what does this bass sound like? You know what you need to do. Go ahead and pinch that like button so my hand will turn back to normal. Thanks. Not too bad for $130 or so. Not too bad at all, especially that B string. So this bass is strung up with Stay in Tune foundation nickel-plated stainless steel gauges 45 to 125 for the B string. That's right, that's a 125B, and it sounds absolutely massive on this bass. Yeah, not too shabby. Now again, the controls are very limited here. We essentially have 2 volume controls, one for each bank of magnets, one for each single coil pickup that's in this humbucker, and then the master tone control. What you've heard thus far is with both pickups engaged, both single coils, making this humbucker essentially a Stingray pickup, which is wired in parallel. Here's what that sounds like one more time, and then we'll play with this tone control a little bit. That string spacing is a bit tight for me, honestly, and I find myself getting a little bit jumbled. It is what it is. Let's take the tone down to about 50% now. And here's the tone all the way down. Let's take the tone control back up and let's solo one of these single coils here. So let's do the neck one first. I'm taking the bridge pickup down. I know it's all in one housing, but it's 2 pickups technically here. Here's what this sounds like soloed. Now here's the other one soloed. they sound pretty much exactly the same. This is definitely a mod platform and kind of a placeholder. Sure, for a beginner, someone who's just looking to pick up an instrument and wants a Stingray style bass, this is an absolutely great choice, and it's going to sound great out of the box. But to unlock the true potential of this instrument, I think throwing in a new pickup and a series parallel rotary switch, and then a master volume and master tone, would make this thing absolutely scream. Okay, yep, this is not too bad of a bass. Not at all, especially for $130. You can definitely get that bitey Stingray tone that's bright and full that will cut through the mix. Though this is a passive setup, it does sound quite similar. Now, let's go ahead and take out my pick. Go ahead and put that down. Still working on that. New pick, and I'm still feeling that out for sure. But let's see if it can slap like a Stingray now. And finally, let's go ahead and throw some drums behind this bass. So here are my final thoughts on the Harley Benton MB5-SBK. Personally, I would opt for the other finish with the maple neck. I found in my one anecdotal example that the fretwork was much better on the maple version versus this one here. This one had some real jagged frets that would slice your hand open if you were to play aggressively. I took care of that though with my fret file, and I think some new players may find that off-putting, especially if they don't get a setup beforehand. I also found the finish to be a bit fragile and prone to scratches and scuffs. Not really a fan of this matte black finish, especially on cheaper instruments. I find that higher end instruments with a better matte finish tend to be a little bit more robust, but matte finishes in general tend to be much more prone to nicks and stuff. On the positive note though, the hardware seems pretty nice for a $133 instrument. The price is right, definitely, and the neck is solid, the pickup sounds great, and the controls are extremely simple, though kind of useless. Overall though, not a bad package for $130. You could definitely do better at Harley Benton, but you could also do worse. That's for sure. So overall, I would say this is in the middle of the road. So what am I going to rate the Harley Benton MB5-SBK? Yeah! I'm going to rate this bass 3 claws out of 5. Again, we have to manage our expectations here. This is a $130 instrument, yet it sounds almost identical to a Stingray, especially to the untrained ear. You have that sizzle and bite, and it definitely pushes through the mix without problems. There are some spots where it's rough around the edges, especially the frets. Take that literally, rough around the edges, because those fret ends were sharp. Outside of that, though, the overall build quality, especially for the price, is quite nice. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, join our Discord channel, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Harley Benton MB5-SBK. And as always, until we groove again.